Palantir. This company is up 155% in the last year, but is this a time to buy? Is it a time to sell? Or is it something that you should just watch on the sideline? Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, this was a subscriber request. I want to give you a quick breakdown on what Palantir is, what they do, what I think are the pros and the cons, and then I will give you my final thoughts on the company and what I will be doing with the company as well. But let's first start off with who Palantir is and what they do. So first, they were a private company that went public just about 3 years ago, and they've got a lot of controversy behind them in some ways, depending on who you ask. But the company is up 117% in the last 6 months, up 155%, as I said at the beginning of the video, over the last year. And they are basically a data and AI company. What they do at their core is take massive amounts of data and make it understandable and readable and simple for companies and governments. And what they do is take that information and use what we call predictive models. So basically, you take a huge amount of numbers and predict, hey, this person is going to be an issue if you are in the law enforcement space, or could be an issue. This person has weird shopping behavior, perhaps has a fraud alert, and maybe you should shut down their card, things like that. And then when they were founded by Peter Thiel, which is the co-founder of PayPal, they were doing so with the thought of making this a patriotic company, a company that could help put the US in front of AI and machine learning and help it to really defend itself. That is really what they were trying to do, is create an amazing company that is really a defense arm, which is why primarily the majority of their products and services have been sold to different arms of the government, FBI, CIA, Department of Homeland Security, so on and so forth. Now, there is a pro and a con. A pro in that in times where the economy is shaking, you know that the government, the U.S. government, is going to spend on defense, and that part of that money is going to go to Palantir come hell or high water. They're going to get paid from these government contracts, and that is something that helps you insulate them. However, that does mean, though, that there's a limit. There are only but so many government offices, and because of the nature of their products, they don't sell to certain governments, which means they're not selling to China, they're not selling to other, what some would call authoritarian regimes and dangerous governments. So that pool is relatively small, and once you reach the max capacity, that's it. You really don't have any major clients. Now, the good thing is they're also selling their products to private firms. Now, according to their internal documents and their earnings reports, they say that there's a pool of nearly 6,000 companies, which, depending on how you want to look at it, that's a lot or a little. It's not millions of individual people, obviously, but this software is quite expensive. So getting a maximum of 6,000 is something that is a good pool to pull from. It makes sense when you think about it, when you say a lot slower than what I did. But in either case, they are working with companies like Airbus and several others to help them to understand their data. They work with banks as well, as I mentioned, with fraud alerts and things like that. And obviously, in a year like this, AI and machine learning has really taken the front seat, and is one reason why I think this company has really taken off this year. So those are all the pros, right? And one con in terms of the government contracts. But here's what else you need to know. Again, they have a limit to what their overall customer base is, and just because you have a total of a possible addressable market of 6,000 doesn't mean that you're going to get 100% of all those clients. The other part of this, and you can look at this as a pro and a con, is they were founded 20 years ago. 20 years ago, and do you know how many times they've turned a profit? Just once. Just once, and that was this year. This year was the very first time turning a profit. Now that could signal, hey, they're now profitable, and from here on out things can be great. Or you can look at it and say, you mean to tell me that 19 out of 20 years of your existence that you weren't profitable? And in fact, you could say that they're only profitable at this point due to AI being a buzzword and people being more interested in AI just this year, or in the past year, really. Is this infatuation with AI going to continue, or is it something that's going to fade out just like all the other trends of crypto and blockchain and all that kind of stuff in years past? That's an open question. Now, I tend to think that the buzzword of AI is going to fade, but I think AI is here to stay because it's been here with Siri and Google and all these other products for years now. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to fade back into obscurity, at least for Palantir. So those are the positive things for the company, and kind of a view of what the company is looking towards. Here's my concern, or other concern. Okay, so right now the company is about $19, creeping up to $20 per share. Again, I've told you how explosive the company has been. Because they haven't been profitable for the majority of their life, right? It is very difficult to put a good price tag on what the price of the company should be. So if I go and look at my own research, and I go look at Morningstar to kind of see if I'm in the ballpark, many analysts are saying that the company is worth somewhere around $13 per share. Based on that, it would be overvalued. Now, when I look at a technical perspective, that means I'm looking at a chart and trying to determine at what price I would get in on a stock like this. It is also a touch overvalued. Closer to $16 per share would make more sense if you can get the company at that price level. The question is, when a company that's growing this quickly, right, 117% in just 6 months, is it going to come back to 16? And if it does, are you going to be able to hop onto it immediately? And will the company continue to grow in the future? These are all open questions. For me right now, I'm putting this in a maybe category, right? Like, it can stay on my watch list, and it's kind of, I'm leaning towards a yes, but I'm not 100% convinced. I'm convinced at the numbers. Okay, that performance numbers like that, when you're up to triple digits, that's something I'm already interested in, right? You're in the tech space as well. That is something that's helpful. The majority of your money comes through government contracts. These are positive things. What I am concerned about is this just a trend? Number one, that is something I'm concerned about. Is it just a trend? Is it just a blip where you're profitable one time and that's it? And the other thing I'm looking at is, what price am I getting in at? Because a company like this exploded back in 2020 to 2021, where it was up to $30 a share. Everything was great with the company just like this, and then it fell out of favor. It wasn't a trend anymore, and then it fell off the face of the earth. Could that happen again? I don't know, but I will say there are similarities here, because Palantir was a very trendy company. I wouldn't call it a meme stock back then, but it was a trendy company. Everybody was talking about it. They were going to be the next big thing, and the company went from 0 to 100 basically and shot straight up just to fall down shortly after. And what are we in right now? We're in another trendy space where everyone is talking about AI. The company has run up 155%. And what is going to happen next? Because they have so few customers right now, these customers are relatively stable. We know they're going to pay, and obviously they're profitable this time around. But are they going to hit that mass capacity where it's like, hey, look, we've got the customers we're going to get. We can't grow anymore. Also, this company was famous. Now, they kind of changed it a bit in the last 2 years, but they're famous for not hiring salespeople. That was like, look, we're all engineers, and people who know us are going to come to us, and that's it. They were not out there trying to grow and sell the company and hire salespeople to go and gather, right, and get those sales dollars. Any business, I think you should have some salespeople, right? You should have some marketing people to bring in more business. Now, again, that has changed as of the last year or year and a half. We'll see if that is going to continue. And perhaps that change is why the company is profitable for the first time. Again, the other part of this is, I'm in a hard place, because I want to see the company have more years of profit, but if I wait, right, another 2 or 3 years, will the company now be 2 or 3 times more expensive than what it is right now? That is my big question. Now, I don't know. Well, I'll say this. I am not 100% sure in taking that risk. I don't blame anyone who does, because of my 4 boxes, I think it's checked at least 2 to 3 of those, which again has me leaning towards a yes, but I feel like I just need a little bit more information. I need to figure out how realistic is it going to be for the profitability of this company moving forward. I had very similar concerns, to just give you some context here, very similar concerns around Tesla when they first turned a profit. Now, I was excited when they did. I was really excited. You can go back and watch that video when they made the S&P 500 for the first time. Now, the question back then was, were they going to be profitable from here on out, or was it just a one-time thing? The answer for Tesla was yes. But again, Tesla and Palantir, 2 completely different markets and 2 completely different customer sets, because Tesla is a consumer business. People like me and you. It's billions of us, right? There are millions and millions of cars that can be sold, and it's also a renewable product in that at some point, maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's 15 years, you're going to continuously buy a new car at some point. So that's a different business. But the problem is the same. It was relatively new to the market. It's a relatively new business in a space that was, again, new, and they were unprofitable for almost a decade, right? And then they became profitable, and now they're one of the best stocks out there, right? It has been one of the best stocks over the last 5 to 7 years. Could Palantir be it? And at a price of nearly $20, is this that time to buy in now, and 5, 6, 7 years, it can be the next NVIDIA? That's the difficult spot. So I'm still on the watch list side of this. If I had to invest in it, I wouldn't feel bad about it. Okay, I wouldn't feel bad about it. I'd feel great if I can get it at $16 a share, but that's the conflict here with a company like this, because it is so relatively new when it comes to public markets, as we can buy and sell shares, because that only happened about 3 years ago. They were starting in 2003, but we couldn't buy shares then, right? So the data in terms of how the market is performing and how they do in certain types of markets, we don't have that much data to really pull off of. What I will say is this: inside of our members only, I'm doing an entire breakdown from the technical perspective, showing you using a chart where I would enter this if I'm looking to trade it, or even if I'm looking to buy it for the long term, and say like, hey, we're gonna buy it and hold it for X amount of time. I'm gonna show you exactly how I'm coming up with my entry point and perhaps an exit point as well. So you want to make sure you check out our members only. Also, if you're looking for other stocks to buy into and hold for the long term, then you want to check out these videos right here.